Hello, I'm Elizabeth Eve King.
And I'm Andrea Goyan. Welcome to Long Lost Friends.
Today, we are so delighted to be talking once again to the amazing Cindy O'Quinn. She is an Appalachian horror writer, a photographer, and an active member of the Horror Writers Association. She is sorely bent, but not yet broken. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you so much. I want to
Hi.
say, first off, congratulations on your 5-year anniversary to MetaStellar.
Thank you.
Such a
Thank you.
wonderful achievement. And thank you to Maria and Andrea and EE. Thank y'all for having me on again. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
we are so happy to have you on. And of course, as we always like to start, we must see Boomer.
Okay. Boomer, come. He's bringing his turtle with him.
Awesome.
Can you see him okay?
Oh,
Oh, Boomer, you look so guilty.
That's because the stuffing is coming out of his turtle now. It didn't last
that's
but a week or so.
that's pretty good. I think we go through them if we have them daily, so we don't really get them anymore. So,
Yeah.
The first time I saw it was at Andrea's house after years. She just had a play date for dogs, and there was stuffing everywhere, just stuffing.
and then we had to stop because our dog that's now 2.5, who was puppy at the time, he was eating the stuffing and then locked his intestines and he had to
Oh,
have
no.
surgery.
No, no.
So pretty much we don't let him have stuffies anymore because he's not to be trusted.
Is it possible to see Boomer again? Is he still there?
I hear the click of his nails.
Yeah.
Boomer, come. Boomer, come. Boomer, come.
Boomer.
Yeah,
I have
he's
my
like, no,
oh, I'm not coming.
camera
He's
shy.
he's not interested in being on camera right now.
Yeah,
That's
he's camera
okay.
shy. He's destroying his turtle instead.
Yeah.
Well, today we actually wanted to talk to you about this amazing collection called from, it says Beyond and Within, but it's called Discontinue If Death Ensues, which is such a great title. And so we want to talk about that and the Five Sisters of Foreboding.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell y'all a little story about how that all came to be. Back in 2021, in the short fiction category, for the first time in the HWA Bram Stoker Award history, the 5 final nominees in any category happened to be all women. So I felt very honored to be one of those 5 women. It was Kyla Lee Ward, Carol Geisander, Anna Taborska, and Lee Murray. And we were all winners because I mean, I feel like you're a winner if you end up on the recommended reading list. If one person reads, I feel like that's a win. Who took home the Bram Stoker? Lee Murray. And we all celebrated that win together. And so, a little bit of time went by, and I started wondering, were we the first? Has this ever happened before? So I reached out to Lee and said, is this something, that's never happened? And she's like, let me check. So she reached out to somebody and at the HWA, and lo and behold, we were indeed the first 5 women in any category. So we started a little messenger group and started chatting back and forth. And it just naturally came together that we decided, let's do an anthology together with just the 5 of us. And on one of the interviews about those 5 short stories, um, the interviewer had mentioned how foreboding each of our stories was. And that's how we got the name Sisters of Foreboding.
Ah,
So anyway, we started thinking about what we wanted this to be about, and we wanted it to be like feminist horror and a change that's happening now, a change that needs to move along maybe a little quicker for women, because it had taken to 2021 for there to be 5 women in a category together, which there have always been excellent male writers, and there always will be. But we're at a point now where there are so many talented women writers in horror that we see that change happening. So the title, Discontinue If Death Ensues, that was thanks to Lee Murray. It's from a line in Marge Percy's poem, and that poem is called For Your Information from Your Pharmacist. And that collection is On the Way Out, Turn Off the Light. You know how when you get a prescription, it'll have the directions. Well, part of the directions is discontinue if death ensues. And then we added Tales from the Tipping Point, because we felt like that's where we all are. We're at a tipping point as far as women in horror. And it's about that tipping point, about that change that's happening. And so that's what the theme of the anthology is. So each of us have our own section, and that's how it came to be. And it felt magical whenever we were doing this and working together. And I just feel so honored to have been one of those 5.
And I was delighted to read The Thing I Found Along a Dirt Patch Road.
Yes.
I loved it. It was
Thank
just
you.
fantastic. Just had me hooked from the beginning. I started it and I said, okay, I'm going to read a little bit just before bed. And then I was like, oh, no, I have to finish it. It was
Well,
great.
I'm
It's a short
glad you
story, but
enjoyed it. I'm
yeah, it
glad.
was
Thank you.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because the styles are very different
Yes.
within the same theme.
Yes.
And that, each of your writing styles and what you choose to write about is different.
Right.
This theme is on that point, which is really interesting.
Right. And we're from I live in West Virginia. Carol's in New York. Anna is in London, and Lee is in New Zealand, and Kyla is in Australia. So we're spread out all over the world. So everybody has their own unique voice, and I love that about the book.
Yeah, and
So
it's wonderful when, and oh, sorry, it's wonderful when an anthology, as Elizabeth said, it has an idea that's big enough to embrace all kinds of different stories, all different stories.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you're going to say, Elizabeth?
Oh, I was just going to say, so you decided to do this anthology. Did you all produce these stories and then did you market it, or did you know Flame Tree was going to carry it, or how did
Well,
that?
that's thanks to Anna Taborska had a really good relationship with Nick Wells, and I believe Carol knew him as well. And that was the first place they reached out to, and Nick said yes. So that worked out very well, and it turned out to be such not only a lovely anthology, I believe, but the book itself is beautiful. It's a piece of art itself with the
It is.
lovely,
It's got
yeah,
the beautiful, I love how they're doing this with novels now. The
yes.
beautiful,
It's just a work of art in and of itself.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I also love, I know since we're talking about the book, I love that it has the
The
attached
yes.
page. What is, oh my God,
Bookmarker.
bookmarks, thank
Yeah.
you. I suddenly was like, what are those called? That's the old brain not working well.
Yes, I love that
And
too. And
early
then
morning.
Lynn Hanson's artwork, and it's such a special book.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I
And
think
That's beautiful.
they always do really beautiful books there.
and
Flame Tree.
this summer, whenever I went to StokerCon, Carol and I were the only 2 of the 5 sisters there, and it won the Bram Stoker. Yeah.
Congratulations. I thought it had won some big awards. We're holding it
Yes.
up again. There will be a
Yeah.
link below for this book. So if anyone wants to get it, it's fantastic. So highly recommend it.
Yes. And
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's been nominated for I don't want to get this wrong, but I believe a World Fantasy Award in dark horror, maybe.
oh,
Wonderful.
that's great. Didn't it win the Bram Stoker? It
It, w-
won
it
last year, so
yes,
it's going to win the world, or not win. It's going to be It's nominated for next year's fantasy. Is that
yes, for the World
that's
Fantasy Award.
well,
I believe I
congrats.
have that right.
It is
I
so
know it's
hard to
been
keep up.
nominated. It is, and I
It's so
don't,
hard to keep up with when something has to be written, when it gets nominated. I mean, it's just
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it could win for the best year in 2 different years. It sounds like, which is even though I mean it'll say yeah, it's
Yeah.
confusing. Is all.
Yeah. So, and I guess the
confusing.
World Fantasy comes a little bit after the Bram Stoker. So 2025, when we have the Bram Stoker Awards, that's for everything written in 2024, and same for the World Fantasy Award. It just happens to fall a little bit later in the year, I believe.
But yeah. Oh, and because I do the reading for Bram Stoker, I they sent me a copy when I usually people just send PDFs, but they sent me a
Right.
copy of the book. So that was also
Wonderful.
extremely cool.
Nice.
So
Wonderful.
is there anything you want to mention about these stories? Because they're very, I love your voice. It's like it's beautifully written prose, but it's very simple. It draws you. It's like walking along a dirt path in a way.
Right.
Right.
There's just a real you can feel yourself being in that place.
And I thank you for that. And maybe the reason that it feels that way is because I'm writing about things that I know about.
Mhm.
I was that nurse that lived along a dirt patch road. I was that nurse that had the dog named Boots and lived near that covered bridge. And so when I write about anything, I generally, there's a little bit of truth to it. So maybe that comes through in my work. Yeah.
It
But I'm
absolutely does.
nothing fancy about, what I do. I feel like I'm a storyteller, and that's just how I do it.
Well, it feels very, I know this is kind of weird, but I spent 4 years in North Carolina when I was in college, and it feels very rooted in that kind of feeling, that part of the country.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that
yeah,
because it is very rooted.
it is, and I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
I hope the dog didn't really die though. The real dog.
Well, Boots was my dog from age 5 to 23. Boots had a wonderful life. And
Three.
I really do not care for movies and stories that an animal dies, but it was a tribute to that dog's life and how he grew up with me and how he had saved me indeed from danger, whenever there was a copperhead on the property and right under the porch. And he was such a protector, just like Boots in the story. So he
Wow,
had a very long, good life.
23 years is remarkable for a dog.
Yeah. I was 5 when I got him, 23 when he passed, so he lived
Oh, okay.
18 years. For a border collie,
Yeah.
that's really great.
That
I
is
felt
No,
great.
very
I
fortunate.
misunderstood, but that is really good.
Yeah.
18 years is a
Yes.
long time. Yeah,
Yes.
really good.
He
Really
was my
good.
best friend until my best friend came into the picture, so
Now, did you write this? You wrote all these after you guys decided to write an anthology, right? None of these
um,
were
the
stories that you
only one
wait.
that was a reprint was The Thing I Found Along a Dirt Patch Road. And I think that was the second maybe Stoker nomination for me was that story. But all of the rest of the work that I wrote for my section was new. Yeah.
How does that work? Because did you get the Stoker for that story for when it was published here or earlier?
Now I didn't win a Stoker for Discontinue if Death Ensues. I was one
For
of
the
the 5
book ones?
nominees. And then what I won a Stoker for was Quandam, which was written in 2023, came out in 2024, and that's when I won a Stoker for short fiction. And then, the Stoker came for this one
For the book.
for
Got it.
yeah, to the two editors. There was 5 of us, and we figured they would frown upon having 5 editors. And Lee's like, she has several Stokers, and she was very gracious and said, I'll step aside and the 4 of y'all can be editors. And then we're like, well, maybe 4 is too many. So we narrowed it down to 2, and graciously Anna and Carol took those roles as editors, and they did a wonderful job.
That's great. Do you have any more plans for the 5 sisters?
No, not that I know of. And right now, I have several things coming up or in the works that I have collaborated with people, but I'm kind of stepping away from that because I have 4 novels of my own in progress and 2 screenplays. So I'm focusing on um, doing my storytelling on my own for the next couple of years at
Yeah.
least. Maybe longer if I never get caught up and keep coming up with ideas that it may just be stories by Cindy Quinn.
So are these stories, because you said 4 novels, so you're writing them at the same time?
Well, 2 are in the note stage, and 2 are in me physically writing stage. I'm more than halfway through with both. So yeah, I tend to jump around. I can't just write one novel or one piece at a time. I'll work on it for a while and maybe the next day work on the other, or split it up half and half during the day. I tend to shift gears a good bit.
And are they all horror novels?
Yes. And
Genre.
not extreme horror. That's not what I write, not splatterpunk.
Mhm.
It's more Appalachian folk horror. It's more psychological suspense is what I really love. Yeah.
Right, which is what I think. I mean, when I was reading the thing, I found along a dirt patch road. I read it every time to make sure I get it right. That story was very much psychological horror,
Yes.
very much. It was just, so beautifully done. I was on the edge of my seat, as I said.
That's my true love is
Yeah,
the
it was
psychological
beautiful.
horror with the folk with the Appalachian noir kind of background as
Mhm.
as where
Yeah,
everything takes place.
most of the things I've read of yours, maybe all have been, occasionally there's a little bit of real violence, and
Right.
it's shock because you
Hmm.
kind of don't expect it.
Right.
Well, the other story in here, Rolling Boil,
Yes,
gets pretty violent, I have
it
to say.
does.
I was like,
It
oh,
does.
my goodness.
And and I tend to listen to music whenever I write, and a lot of times it'll be that old time folk bluegrass, very very rooted in the mountains. And then whenever I write something like Rolling Boil, and people have to die from time to time, that has to happen. Um, I'll slip into maybe Jethro Tull or AC/DC whenever those things are happening. Um, I change what I'm listening to, and it helps me to get in that zone.
I
Yeah.
love bluegrass and stuff when I'm somewhere and that's playing, it really makes my brain fire up and think of interesting stories and things. For some reason, that really clicks in my brain.
It does. And my
Yeah.
mother's side of the family was very musical, and they were all self-taught. And so whenever I visit what's left of their homestead, which is just a little bit of the barn and maybe a scrap or 2 of the house, and it's up on top of the mountain in Glace, it's like whenever I get out of the vehicle, I can hear that music whispering in those pines on that mountain, you know?
Mhm.
It's really deep and connected to me as to who I am. So, I was very fortunate to be able to go and always hear that music, that old time bluegrass music, mountain music, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think there's that's what I was sort of trying to talk about of that tangibleness of your writing and almost a classical quality,
Well,
in that
Mhm.
it's that physical suspense. It's not like, oh, we're gonna, blow someone's head up and
exactly.
throw it on the wall and draw a
Yeah.
picture of the blood. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
Every now and then there is a shocking bit of violence,
Yeah.
but basically it's in here and it's the music, like the smell. I can always like smell the woods.
Yes.
And
And that's me.
You smell like woods?
Everything about me, to me, reminds me of the mountains and all of those smells. I can smell now a Macintosh apple, and it takes me back to that mountain, to the backyard of this 500-acre farm that we would go to, on Sunday afternoons and have picnics and everything. And there was a Macintosh tree in the backyard. So, and then you have like whenever the temperatures would drop, you would hear, I mean, you could hear the crackle of the fireplace. You could smell that wood burning smoke, and you could smell the woods, the foliage in October when things start to change. All of those things are me, part of me. And
Mm.
yeah, so it's not only the words, it's the smells, the sounds, the music, this just everything that makes me me.
Yeah, great.
yeah, that's wonderful. Now, uh, have you, are there any Appalachian writers that have influenced you?
Um, yes, there, Ron Rash, David Joy, and then Ron Kelly, who so graciously wrote the introduction for Dark Cloud on Naked Creek. Um, and I really embrace whenever I do find somebody that has that voice that sounds so familiar. And it doesn't seem like there's a lot of the Appalachian horror writers. And so whenever I do find that, it's like I'm not the only one. And, especially with women, everybody I named were men. So, but whenever it comes to running across somebody like that, there is a connection, and they immediately become like mountain brothers to me. A small, very small family.
Yeah, well, I think you tend to make family easily somehow.
Oh. Maybe it's because I longed for a huge family, lots of brothers and sisters. So, um, I
Did
don't
you
know.
have, do you have brothers
Um,
alive?
I had two older sisters. One is still alive. So yeah, I always longed to be part of a big family. And we recently had a wedding reception for my son and son-in-law. They got married back in November, but we didn't have a reception. And I'm so glad that we waited, because we ended up having it just a few weeks ago in the woods at a beautiful picnic shelter in the Greenbrier National Forest. And that's where we had my mom's side of the family reunions. And I miss that so much, because mom's been gone for over 20 years, and she was the one that was always in charge of keeping everybody together and the family feeling so huge. So I haven't had that for over 20 years. So to gather there in that place with so many wonderful memories, it was really special.
And
That's,
isn't it funny how there's someone in the family who has that gift of gathering people,
Yes.
and when they're gone, it's so hard to recreate. Very few. I haven't had anyone step in and replace that,
Yes.
and it's not me.
Right. And neither have I. So
Yeah,
yeah, maybe I need to change that. Maybe I need to start, having these
yeah.
gatherings more often.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, so many people, it's usually the mother. And
Yes.
once the mother's gone, the family sort of falls apart in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know mine did.
Yeah.
So
Winters. Yeah.
interesting. So just one more question.
Okay.
Because your love of place comes through in your writing, and yet your stories are always horror. does that, do you ever, like, does that ever freak you out then when you're walking around? You're like, oh my gosh.
No, and even those 8 years that we lived on the homestead, it was so secluded. I felt safe, um, just in the middle of nowhere, you couldn't see us from the road. Nobody knew we were back there on that 20 acres in the middle of the woods, um, and you could hear the coyotes yipping at night. We'd have campfires, and you could hear them just beyond the yard, right behind the tree line. They would come every spring to have their pups, and um, those sounds, as eerie as they can be, I found comfort in them. And the darkness of the woods that surrounded us, the sounds of the animals, and the bear and the moose and the foxes and all of the wildlife. And if you've ever heard a fox, the screams that they make, pretending to be like a wounded animal or anything or something like that, and that that will send chills up your spine. But I loved it, and I think all of that is thanks to my dear sweet mother, who she's the one that gave me the gift, the love of horror, and those are my most
Foxes,
precious memories of her. Yeah.
foxes are terrifying if you don't know what it is. We were
Yes.
camping once and there were gray foxes in the hills. It was probably mating season, I'm not sure. And
Right.
everyone came out of their tents and everyone was like, what is that? And I figured it out when I got home on Google. But
Right.
wow. Poof.
Yeah.
They can also be really make little cute noises when they're little and playing, though. They
Yes.
like laugh. I mean,
Yes.
almost like human laughter.
Yeah.
Really cute,
Yeah.
really cute. But
Great. Well, thank you so much for talking to us about this
yes.
anthology. Once again, we have links, and I strongly advise you to get yourself a copy. And I don't know if, you might not want to start reading it right at bedtime, but the stories are really, they will stay with you. And some of them are comic as well, amusing. The time travel one I was thinking of. It's not scary. It's interesting how horror has that branch of humor too, where it's like, well, you're not really scared that, these time traveling supermen are going to come back and, well, they, kill me if I'm a man reading it. Let's say I wouldn't really be scared of that, but it's entertaining. It's fun. So you'll either laugh or be terrified.
Well, I certainly appreciate y'all inviting me again, and it's always a pleasure to talk to y'all.
The pleasure
Thank
is
you.
ours. And we always end with the best thing I learned this week. And this week, the best thing I learned was that people who make drones were having a problem with some of the design factors. They couldn't figure out how to do it. And somebody was looking through the notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci, and in his drawings, they found the solution to their drone problem.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's the best thing I learned this week. I was like, wow.
Mhm.
All right. Well, the most interesting thing I learned this week is something probably Elizabeth knows already, but this is Armadillo Week. So the first thing is that the 9-band armadillo, which is the one that's mostly in the United States, I think it's Texas's animal, state animal, they breed, the female will get, she'll get pregnant and but she actually can store the egg for several months before she actually embeds it. And the really interesting thing is that they have 4 identical babies from one egg. So every year that they breed, they have one egg that gets fertilized. It is split into 4. I'm going to say this slightly wrong. You can correct me if you know how to say it, Elizabeth. Polyembryony. And so the egg is split into 4 identical pieces or eggs. And there are 4 babies born. They're all either all female or all male every year. And they share a placenta, and they're basically, I guess, in a way, well, they're identical twins, or they're clones in a weird way. I mean, they're all the same, which I think is fascinating. So every year,
Triplets, wouldn't it be? Not twins?
4,
Yeah, so
4,
not
not
twins.
triplets, not twins, but they're split
Quad.
into 4 identical babies.
Wow.
And then just throwing in on top of that, just because they're so cute, I found pictures of something called the pink fairy armadillos, which are in Argentina, and they're about this length of your hand, and the top of their shell is actually pink, and they're very cute. And that's my armadillo
Wow.
week.
Beautiful. My thing isn't odd or interesting. It is actually something extraordinary. It's beautiful. It's part of nature. But I'm not sure when this video will come out, but yesterday we went for a ride. My boys and I, we celebrated Zach's 25th birthday this weekend. So whenever it's one of my son's birthdays, we tend to celebrate for several days. And yesterday we must have seen 40, 50 fawns, and some were right in the middle of town. I mean, sure, I live in a very small town, but to see them, and there were so many sets of twins. There was just little Bambis running around everywhere, and it was such a joy to watch all of that. I love it.
Were they still spotted, or
Yes,
were they past? Oh,
still,
wow.
they were still very spotted and small, and just so much beauty running around all day yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
lovely.
fantastic. I mean, I've seen a few, but that many all over,
Yeah,
that's
and that was just the babies I was counting, not the moms and the bucks and everything, so it was a real treat.
Beautiful.
wow, great. Well, thank you for joining us. And
Yes,
thank
thank you.
you, Maria Korloff, for editing and directing and producing, and Alex Korloff for editing. We couldn't do
Yes.
it without you.
Oh, yes, we couldn't. And if you would like to read some more stories, you can click on to metastellar.com, and you'll find a bunch. We have a lot of information, stories, books, interviews, all kinds of things. And we have a Patreon page. And if you'd like to, it's early in the morning where I am. If you want to be a Patreon for us, all of the money that we have is given to our writers to produce more. Elizabeth, help me out. More.
Okay, all the money goes to paying writers for original stories.
Thank
And
you.
so all your money will go to that. But head on
Yes.
over there, you can read reprints too. And thank you. And yes, it's like 8 a.m. where Andrea is, so we have to, I wouldn't
You
be
have to
talking at all.
you have to
It's
cut me a
late.
break. Cut me a break today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And we
Thank
look forward to seeing everyone again. And thank you, Cindy, so much.
Thank y'all so much as well. It was my pleasure.